or however it is. Okay, I'll start again. Hi, everybody. My name is Today Monique Brown, and I am the L1 Children's Librarian at Haddington Library for the Free Library of Philadelphia. It is a pleasure to meet all of you. Hi. So, first off, I just wanted to say thank you so much for inviting Haddington into your homes and into your virtual space. I appreciate being here and sharing my last, let me see, it's coming up on a year. This is my 11th month. Right now, I'll be 12 months, November 9th. I will be a year into like my full-time librarianship. So I'm really looking forward to sharing my experiences with you.
Great. And we're so happy to have you here with us today. So I guess just to get the ball rolling, something kind of like, well, maybe not an easy question, but what drew you to librarianship? Like, how'd you get started?
So basically, I was dyslexic and I couldn't hear that well when I was a child. And so basically, my mom said, we're going to libraries to help you transition. And for anyone coming in, hi, I'm Today. It's a pleasure to meet you. So my mom said, we're going to the free library. We're going to a library. We're going to, figure this out. And I met Frank Bonafonte, who was my children's librarian, and I met Sharon Millard. She was also a children's librarian at JEC, and he was at Nicetown. And they were like this tag team duo that said information is everyone's right, basically. Everyone has a right to information. Everyone has a right to learn and problem solve. And Frank's motto was, you can do anything. So I really enjoyed that. To get over my dyslexic, he introduced me to a series of books like manga, comic books, those sort of things. So I was really drawn as an artist to these actions and these illustrations and artwork. So it slowly helped transition me to reading more. And when he found out that I loved more, he also did something else that was really interesting. He let me have an unlimited on any amount of books I can take out. So at a children's age, you can only take out 20. I was able to take out 50. I was able to take out 85, and then I was able to take out 120. And he let the whole library be my oasis. So he's like, you're not just restricted to children's. You can take out adult material, you could read almost anything. And it became a platform. I can do anything I want. I can read anything I want. And between the two of them, I really came to respect librarianship. Like, he really became drawn to how to do something, how to be someone else, how to, read, how to teach someone else, how to show someone else how to do something. Librarians are connectors. So he connected me to information and problem solving. So that was huge. I became a volunteer. I became a team leader assistant, which is basically a TLA, and I helped with after school. Then I became an after school leader in Kensington, and then I became I became a seasonal, a part-time, and then a full-time. And then I'm just like, why take steps when I can take leaps? And I went to go to grad school to become a librarian. It just became this 6-year journey, since I was 14. I'm like, why not? Let's just do it. I'm here. I work as LA. Why not? Man, it brought a tear to my eye, man. That's an amazing journey. I'm sorry. Like, I love everything about information, and that story, it just hits me every time, because without Frank, because when I met Frank again, he was my supervisor as an LA. So it just came full circle. So, my undergrad was illustration, and I worked in the academic library not so much. It was almost for me. But then when I worked with the public, there's like this spark of like, how can I help you? How can I connect you? How can I problem solve to help you? How can I make your day? And then that just segued into becoming a librarian.
It's definitely such an inspirational story. I really love hearing it. And it's so good to know that you went from taking these smaller steps to understanding that you needed to make this big leap to get to where you wanted to be in life and where you knew that you needed to be.
Definitely. Like,
did,
go ahead.
Did you always want to work with children? Because you are
Honestly,
the
to tell you
children's
the truth,
librarian. Was that like always your course of action?
I'm a big kid. Okay. So I love video games. I love everything Disney, you know, let me be a Disney princess and I'll be happy. Let me dress up like a fairy. You know, I've always had that big kid in me. And it wasn't for me. I wanted to work with teens. My biggest goal was to help teens get into college, to do things they wanted to do, to help them. I was really called a teen whisperer. So it was kind of like my thing, working with teens. And then it wasn't until my supervisor came to me and said, hey, we have this children opening. You're going to be a great children's librarian. Here you go. And it was funny because I'm like, I'm not a children's librarian. What you talking about? I work with teens and adults. That's what I do. And then I did my first children's story time. And I think I cried afterwards, after I did the video, after I did the story time, after I met with the first class, I kind of cried. It was kind of emotional for me. And I didn't think it would be, wow, I'm actually doing what my teachers did for me, what my librarians did for me. I'm actually passing that on. And it hit me right here. Like it was an amazing experience. So no, I didn't expect to be this, but yes, I love it. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Kayla, did you want to do the next one or?
Go for it. My Wi-Fi is like barely working, but I'm here.
And yeah, and anyone, you know, feel free to jump in, ask questions.
Ask questions.
Like I've got some stuff like
Okay.
prepared for us, but like if anyone else has some questions that they want to ask, just jump in, interrupt me, whatever. But I guess like on the topic of children, like children's librarianship, are there any special activities that you've worked on recently? Anything that, or maybe like a passion project that you have for the children's librarian?
Okay, so I inherited the children's collection at Haddington, and it was really overburdened with materials that haven't been unweeded, hasn't been added to the collection in the catalog. It's been a massive project for myself to go in and weed. So every Monday, my supervisor comes, the program coordinator comes, everybody chips in, and we weed heavily the big collection. Because what's happening is you get a budget, you buy books, you have to add books to the collection, and you have to take books out. That wasn't done for years and years. So my responsibility was to go in there, look at the books that are old, look at the books that have been on there since 1996, make sure those books get sent to archive, and then make sure those books get weeded, get new homes. COVID has made that a challenge, but like I said, weeding has been very heavily and important. And what is to weed? Weeding is basically you go in, you run a report on Collection HQ, and it will tell you how long a book has been on your shelf and what that book is doing, and if it's moved any. If that book has not moved any, it's time to get off the shelf because something new has to go there. Or I have to buy the same book again because it's such a classic and it needs to be in the collection because even if it hasn't moved in a couple of years, we've been in COVID. So I'm like, okay, I have to make this decision. You're paid to make that decision. It is up to you if that book stays or if that book goes. And that is truly important in a collection as big as Haddington, for especially for me. So my biggest job has been to go in and heavily weed, find homes for these books, and then make sure when discretionary comes, because you get discretionary money, to buy new books to replace the ones that you're doing it. Now, those books they have to constantly move. They have to move. So I'm constantly weeding, constantly buying. That's not going to stop. So you have to find a balance between between buying a book, weeding a book, and then revising the book so that it has a collection of where to go. So I've worked at a regional there can be 27 subsections of a children's collection. At Haddington, we actually put some it's called juvenile easy readers in with actual adults. So sometimes we have juvenile, sometimes we have regular J nonfiction, and they're in the nonfiction section. So I have to check both places and make sure those books are moving. If they're not, they need to either be revised. If it's the last collection, the last book in the series or last book period, I have to make a decision if it goes into archiving. We have one downtown, so I have to make those decisions. That's what librarianship is, making sure those collections move. And I know this is a long answer, but it's been a learning process, because when you're dealing with a collection like that, you want the collection to be as visible as possible. And that is the responsibility of the librarian. So my responsibility has been, when I'm adding a book into Circe is our main system that we use, I have to make sure it's visible to the patron, but it's also visible to the librarian assistant, so that when they're pulling books for transport to go other places, I have to make sure it's visible so that they're like, oh, it's in holiday. Oh, it's in series. Oh, it's here in picture books. So that wasn't done before. So now it's been my case that every new book that comes in, every new book that comes, or old book that comes across my desk, I have to make sure that it's labeled correctly. And that's the biggest project that I've been doing. We just got finished on summer of reading. So summer of reading is very important as well, because kids forget their, what they've learned during the school year. So summer of reading is a way of getting kids active. There's prizes, there's a passport. They have to come in and say, hey, we did this activity, we read this book, or however it is that they did. This is what summer of reading was. It was to help the kids not forget what they learned.
Can I ask how you make the decisions about which books to add into the collection?
Okay, that's a good question. So basically, to add a book to the collection, it's basically go and buy. You're buying the book using the discretionary money that you're given. And I'm basically researching and making a list. I have a master list that I pull from of books to buy. I'm asking parents, I'm asking schools to put lists together. If you have a list, give it to me. If it's in the repository, I will buy it. I will buy it and make sure that it's here, that you can look at it. I also check to see if our sister branch has it. So that's Overbrook. So Overbrook is closest to us. So we share we share a lot of the books together, but we also share people. So if one branch shuts down, people can come here. So I always make sure, hey, do you guys got this book? I'm always calling the children's librarian saying, hey, you got this book here. Oh, you don't? Okay, I'll make sure it's in the system. So it's also, I have to check the shelves to see if it's there too. I also have to check to see if it's in the cluster, our West cluster. So it's a lot of list making and it's a lot of looking, and then deciding how much that book is, and then can I add it to the collection? Can it fit with that budget?
Going along with weeding, how do you make sure the books that you're buying are diversified and accessible to all children? Because a big part of librarianship is making sure all of our collections are accessible to everyone and different cultures and people and stuff like that. So how do you go about making sure that even children's books are like as culturally diversified as possible? Because I know you have lists that come in from schools, but they're not always that way.
No, they're not. And the one thing is knowing your community. So knowing your community, and understanding, your population and who comes in and who gets the books. I'm in West Philly, so I'm all the way at 65th and Girard. And so that community is primarily either Muslims, African Americans. I mean, it's a very diverse, but it's a very small population. So I know who I'm buying for. So the one thing that's super important is I have to make sure those books match the needs of that community. I'm not in Center City, so I know I'm not buying for that community. I am buying for this community and what this community needs. So it's also meeting your community, greeting them. Like I'll go to the school, hey, how are you? Get a feel of the community population, going door to door, doing a community walk. Seeing your population and knowing your population is super huge. And that'll allow you to like, okay, let me get diversity books about being awesome, or let me get books about, learning how to tie my shoe if a lot of babies are coming in, those type of things. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, that was great. And I guess in line with maybe also like the summer programs you talked about, do you do after school programs?
Oh yes, homework help.
Yeah.
So when I was a team leader assistant, that was something that was really important. It was our job to help out with after school programming. As a librarian, it's up to the ASL, which is the after school leader, the librarian, and the team leader assistant to really help with homework help, come up with programs, because they have their own things they have to do with STEAM, and we have STEM. So ours is science. Let me get this right. STEM, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. So basically, we have ours and they have theirs. So they have their respective what they have to do, and we have what we have to do. So it really lines up sometimes. Sometimes I'll be collaborating with the teen leader, the teen and adult librarian, and sometimes I'll be collaborating with the LEAP after school leader. So it really varies, but they're in charge of after school programming and homework help. I'm there to assist as well. So, I mean, and then we also have an online, homework help as well, where we could just type in and ask questions and so forth. So this is a tool. I mean, this new math, come on, this new math. I was like, what is this? What is this? I know 2 times 2 is this, but not this. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, oh, I was like, this new math, man. So, I mean, it definitely, when 3 o'clock hits, the kids come in, it's homework help time. Like, then it's program time. And then, like, we haven't had a lot of kids because of COVID, but I recently had a young girl brought her report card to me, and she's like, Miss Brown, we set goals in the beginning of the semester, and now I got straight A's, and I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. And I'm like, screwed new math, because I did it. So yeah, so we do have those programs. We definitely do.
So with the online homework help, was that something new you guys implemented because of COVID, or has it always been?
It's always been there.
Oh,
It's
okay.
yeah, so the homework help has always been there, and it's a tool that not many people utilize, but we wish they did. But it's a heavily used tool that can assist because I know I use it a lot. I know I use it a lot. So yeah, once my supervisor told me about it, I'm like, wait, that's a thing. I was like, wait, I can use it? Okay, all right, all right. But yeah, it's a really good tool.
What are some more of the major things that you've seen changing because of COVID?
Um, Outreach. So outreach is a very important thing as a librarian. We're like salesmen trying to reach the community, trying to change the digital divide because that's a huge thing in the community, period. Trying to outreach and go to different schools without being in the classroom. So we can't be in the classroom. And so we have Zoom, and Zoom can make it a little difficult to meet the needs because some people are in school, some people aren't. So it's trying to find this balance. What I've done is I do videos, I do story times, I do plenty of like online programs that can just help. And then I do like book bundles and things that are like passive programs that people can just grab off our Facebook and say, hey, this is what we're doing. Check it out. Check out these books. Check out this video. This is what we're doing. So it's, I mean, Haddington is really a word of mouth branch, but I mean, we're trying everything we can to get back and help the community.
You mentioned like passive programs like the book bundles. Is it, can you like talk a little more on that? So like is it
Sure. So a
family?
lot of, so I love book bundles. It's basically curating the collection and repository of the Free Library of Philadelphia. So I'll pick a subject. I recently did National Pretzel Day, Chocolate Pretzel Day. And I talked about, you know, the history of chocolate pretzels. I talked about, you know, the different history behind it. I pulled books. I went and looked for like story times. I went and looked for like an activity, and then, you know, and so all of these things wind up to a book bundle. I'm gonna see if I can actually find one for you. You got me all, you got me all looking now.
I
I'm like,
think
wait
something
a minute.
my local library does is like they used to have craft time, so they would like bundle up the crafts and you could take it home. And I took
Oh
one
yeah,
and I did like it was a Star Wars. It was
that's
fun for like 10
cool.
minutes.
That's actually what we do. We're actually trying to make sure some people are doing online crafts. We did take home kits where we put we actually put like the craft inside, instructions, everything they needed to like do the craft, but the freedom to do the craft themselves any way they want. So it's like, here's how to do it, but
Yeah.
we got it.
A little
So I'm
artistic liberty there.
definitely. Oh, I found my, okay, so I found my National Dessert Book Bundle, which is awesome. And so basically I talked about National Dessert Day, and it was pretty awesome. And I, like I said, I love National Dessert Day because why not?
Yeah.
And I basically, you know, I said, hey, you know, happiness in every bite. Welcome to National Dessert Day book bundle observed on October 14th, a treat for any season and your new favorite holiday. And so I go on to talk about the history. There's 3 books I talk about, like Dessert Island by Ben Zhu and Just Dessert Club and Cooking Up a Story Time. And then I talk about the history of National Dessert Day. And then I even tried to implicate a lot of my previous book bundles. Like I did National Sugar Cookie Day, I did Vanilla Ice Cream Day. And then I even, like I also talked about, I also did National Chocolate Covered Pretzel Day. And then I even did a no churn, no fuss vanilla ice cream at the Culinary Literacy Center, where I just made ice cream and I shared it with everybody. So it's basically a virtual platform that I've learned already, but I'm just like, okay, this is how we do it.
Mhm.
This is how we do it. So I'm super excited.
That sounds awesome.
And it's fun too, because I get to curate a bunch of books
Yeah.
together that I think might actually work. And then you have an activity, it might be a coloring sheet, it might be a decorating sheet, but it's basically a template you can print out and do at home,
Mhm.
which is really cool.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, that's so important. Like in the past couple years with everyone who's stuck in the house.
Yeah, so I'm like, hey, you could do a book bundle. I know at OVP at Overbrook they did tie dyeing. So for the summer they did tie dyeing and I did the ice cream, and then that was basically how we were trying to get activities to the kids who did come. And I bought a
Mhm.
canopy so for outside steps. So basically, people could sit out on the steps and listen to me do a story time or listen to a book talk. So I'm just like, you can't be inside, but we can social distance right here.
Great. So we had a question come in from one of our registration forms. So what do librarians in and outside of the children's department have to offer each other? So like you already mentioned a little bit how, you help out with like the homework help and things like that, but how, I guess, do you kind of work together with the other librarians in and out of the department you're actually in?
So I work with the adult teen librarian, and we collab a lot. We meet every Wednesday we meet every Wednesday and we just talk about what are we doing for this month? How are we going to plan? What programs can we do together? And because she's teen and I'm child, we're always trying to like, okay, here are the letters that we can write to schools that'll basically be helpful. This is the program that we can do together. This is what I'm thinking. So it's a lot of planning together, a lot of planning. Get used to that. You're all going to be planning. That's all you're going to be doing is you're going to be meeting about meeting. Okay? That's what I learned as soon as I became a librarian. I'm meeting about meeting. And I'm just like, didn't we meet about that already? Wouldn't that have been an email? Okay.
Classic.
Yeah. So yeah, okay. So we're always meeting. Once a month, our program coordinator will set up like a skill share, and we'll all talk about like the different skills and sharing that we'll do. Like I know one of my coworkers, her name is Rachel. She's also one of my mentors as well. She does this wonderful story time where you choose the ending and you choose how the story goes. And I was just so blown away by that because I'm just like, her story times kind of blow me away. And then we did like an escape room this summer, which was really awesome. And it consisted of different layers of this is how you write it, this is how you draw it. For me, this is how you put it together, and this is the final. And then we had someone come in and give a talk, but we had so much fun. Like we all worked together. So that's what I think COVID has done as well. It's brought the children's librarians in the West and Southwest cluster closer together to like share, what we can do and how we can do it. So the Skillshare once a month has been awesome. It's been helpful.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I guess kind of follow up on that is how so you like once a month we get together with like the children's librarians from the other branches nearby.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you do is there any other things you do with the other libraries? Like do you work together on programs? Do you like collaborate on things very often?
We definitely collaborate. So I feel like it's been more collaboration than ever. Like doing the escape room, it was mountains of meetings. Like, how do we execute this? How do we make this happen so that people can come to an escape room and just see how it is and make their own escape room. It's definitely been important. I know I collaborate with my sister library all the time, OVP. I'm always like, hey, what you doing? She's like, nothing. What you doing? That's not really how it is, but it's basically how can we meet these needs? Recently, one of our schools, one of my schools is actually sharing a building with one of her schools, her service schools. So they were like trying to overburden them with like the extra library cards. And I'm like, no, 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 that's our branch. That's our branch. No, 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 we'll take them from you. I'll help you. So it's a lot of making sure that we are working together to make sure everything works properly. And so that school that's there, you know, trying to like have a conversation, having, you know, hey, you can bring your library cards here to to Haddington. We got this. You don't have to overburden OVP. We got this, Brad had. We're good. I got you. So it's like, it's those kind of things. It's also working with that branch to like unload their library. So there's WePack, there's a lot of other things that we collaborate with. And we're always talking, we're always exchanging emails. We're always like, girl, this is what happened to me today. I don't know how to do this right here, this program or this video. And it was a lot of adapting when COVID happened. So it was just like, oh, let me look at this. Let's collab on this. Like we did a painting show together and I had to do my part. I had to do the painting and send it to her, compress it. And then she had to put it in a video file. And then she had to do her read over, you know, her voiceover. So it's like I said, it's a lot of collabing, a lot of working together and just basically moving forward and adapting.
Mhm. Does anyone have any questions?
Anything?
I guess so. Like in the library where I grew up, the children's section was really separated from the rest of the library. And I think a lot of that was because there's the idea that like in the adult section, it should be very quiet all the time and everything, where the kids are more chaotic. How does that work in the library that you work in? Like, how do people find that balance? Is there like that same kind of ethos or has things changed a little bit?
It's kind of the same kind of ethos, but it's always evolving and changing. I know for a fact in the adult section, there's the teen section that's on the other side. Like you have the circ desk, and then you have children's, and you have that one section area, and then on the other side, and then the back, you have the adult area. So it definitely, there's a quiet area as well where you can work on your computer, where you can do things. Yeah, that's pretty much the same. Because when I worked at a regional, the children's department was the second level. So I definitely agree with you on that one. It's definitely separate, and we still try to keep it quiet.
And I guess it was my question before about like working across the different departments. Like, is there anything that you wish that the adult section like knew about the children's section, or like do you feel like there's any way that they could be like more helpful in any way, like if they're kind of distinct within the library?
Honestly, to tell you the truth, we all work together. Like I can be an adult teen librarian if you need me to. Like the only difference in I think our area is that she's management, like she's the supervisor and I'm just the children's librarian. Like I have my department, but she supervises all of it. Her name is Kiki and Lakeitha, but she supervises everything. So she cares about building, operations, the management of the library, and I want to ask how I can help her, like how I can help her. So my part is monthly reporting needs to be done so that she can finish monthly reporting for the whole branch. So that is another big part of being a librarian. Those data sets that you guys have been doing, those budgets that you've been working on, yeah, that's what it means to be a librarian in the public system, because we have to manage that. Everything from buying the books, like I have DVDs due next week. Like I have to buy all of my DVDs next week, and I have $325. And she might have less. So, but I have to have that done before, so that can go in the monthly report. Monthly reporting helps your branch. It helps everything of what you're doing. It makes sure you get budget for next year, all of those things. But yeah, like it's not what she can do for me, it's what I can do for her, because she's in charge and I have to support her, and she has to support me because she's the supervisor. But I really feel as though I need to support her because there's a lot on her plate. She's in charge of everything. She's in charge of the branch. So in order to do my part, I have to make sure monthly reporting is due. I have to make sure it's correct. I have to make sure anything that happens, like building, operations, management, all of it, I have to make sure it works. So I have to make sure it on my end, but she definitely has to make sure it's good on her end. So I need to make sure I do my part. That's basically it. I have to make sure I do my part as good as I can, as best as I can. Will I make mistakes? I'm human. But yeah, those are the type of things, because supervisors, they have meeting. Whew, did they have meetings? Like I thought I had meetings. Whew. They got managers meetings. They got meetings out the wazoo. If something breaks down, that's on them too. Like they have to make sure everything is situated. So me supporting her and me making sure everything is good on my end is super important. Yeah. I just wish they had more of a budget. I guess basically adults, the adults, it's different from ours because they have to like buy career books, they have to do test books, they have to keep on top of that. Where in children's, I have to keep up with the trend. I have to keep up with, what are babies learning right now? I have to make sure all of that is situated and good, because if it's not on my end, it's on hers and we lose the budget. So I can't do that. So I have to make sure I keep up on everything. I'm watching YouTubes. I'm learning, I'm listening to Minecraft. I'm like trying to make sure I'm up on certain trends, like so I can buy certain books. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that must be, I mean, that's fun research though, like kind of learning what these children are interested in these days.
Yeah, and then to help her with like she'll ask me, she's like, what's trending for teens in anime? And I'm like, that time I got reincarnated by a slime. Like that's what I'm watching right now. So I'm like, I'm trying to help her with her collection, is like me tag teaming, like, all right, I'm in. Let's help. Let's, what movies? I'm like, I don't know because I don't watch TV. Let me ask my mom. Like, those kind of things. So I mean, yeah, you're in the branch, you have your department, but you're always crossing to help out each other.
So, as a children's librarian, how do you kind of transition them into YA and juvenile kind of reading?
So I'm looking for things like Kingdom Hearts. I'm looking for that trend, like that balance. It's that balancing beam. The series is a good transition. Goosebumps, that's a good transition. Like I'm looking for books that are like, so if you're fourth grade to like fifth, sixth, and seventh, and eighth, she gets ninth, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So I'm just like, I'm looking for those books that'll translate well. I'm looking for mangas that are on the scope, like Marvel. So Marvel has some like juvenile books, but they're right there on the cusp of like on the balance. So I'm like, okay, this has enough violence in it. This has enough, awesomeness in it for them. Okay, I have to make this judgment call. I'm buying this right here. So, I'm always looking, like I'm always listening. I'm always researching. like I said, Minecraft. I'm always buying Minecraft novels. I am because it's huge. Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Again,
It's still around.
it's still
Oh my
around,
God.
like even the girl version. So like these are books that are like the balancing beam. And so I'm always looking, like even James Patterson. Oh my God. When I was in LA, he has his own section in the adult section. And then when I became a children's librarian, I see him there and I'm like, what are you doing here? Stay in your adult section. Why am I looking at you here?
So
I'm
how do
like,
you choose where to put those transitional books if they're in series, juvenile, or children's?
So they have their own classification. They go where they're told.
Oh, okay.
And then it's my memory and then my secret list that I have. And then I'm able to be like, all right, how old are you? Wait, hold on. Here's my list. Okay, let's go. And then for the ones who are reading beyond their level and who are just like, do I belong over here? You do, but you also belong over there, but I want you to be over here first so we can see what's going on, and then we'll go over there too. I'm not the one to limit. I don't believe in limits. I don't believe in boundaries. Because I wasn't given boundaries doesn't mean that I don't respect them. It's that I believe information is everyone's right. And if you choose that book that you want to read to learn something from it, or if it's too big for you, you gain some knowledge and information from it. So my responsibility is to show it to you, explain it to you, and share it with you. But if you feel as though this book is for you or against you, you tried it, you learned it, let's move on. Let's go. So those books, I don't keep them anywhere special. They're mixed in with everyone else, but I have a secret list that I have on the side that I go to as like, these are like the books that the kids, if they want to read that level, it's here. Now, for series, my supervisor keeps asking me for this list. It is 407. Okay, 407
Series or books?
series. No, 407 series. Yes. And I took pictures of every book and put them in this visual list that I can look at. I'm just still labeling it. She asked it for me 3 months ago. And I'm like, listen, this is a lot. Okay. I'm at like, I do like 10 or 20 a day just to go through. I haven't even finished adding the pictures to it, but it's a visual list that I can look at and say, hey, I need to buy this over. This book looks crubby. I only have 1 or 2 of the series, and I need to make sure this series looks okay for this collection. So I'm always looking at books. I'm always deciding what book stays or goes. I do a mass reading every Monday, basically almost all the time, but I'm trying to get through these books as much as possible so that the kids can go up to them and say, oh, this looks cool. I want to read this. Yeah. All right, I'll do that. So that's, I mean, I'm Miss Lau, I'm definitely trying the best I can, and the kids love it. That's all I have to say. I love what I do, so I'm like, would I read this? Like, would I read The Magic School Bus Rides Again? Yeah, I would. Let me get book 2 and 3. I'm like, would I read The Magic School Bus? Yeah, that's the frizz. I'll get the frizz. Like, so I mean, like, I'm thinking all the time about what to buy and how to buy it.
Do you, when you're reading, and you said that you're trying to keep like the collections looking pretty uniform, when books get new covers, like I know Percy Jackson, the original, they like, did you have to buy new ones and you weeded out the old ones, or you kept the old ones and
I
bought
kept
the
the
new
old
ones?
ones because I just kept them. Like I haven't gotten to that section yet, but the Percy Jackson series, we get them in hardback.
Oh, okay.
So the hardback is pretty nice. and it's going to last us a while. So you don't need to like buy a new hardback unless I go through and it moves a lot. If it moves a lot, yeah, I'm going to get another copy. I might get a softbound copy, like the new cover, like with Harry Potter. In the regular Harry Potter books and the ones that we have, but the regionals might actually buy new ones because they're regionals. So regionals versus branches, that's another concept. Regionals will have more of a budget, more staff, but they'll also have multiple sections of different new cover type books.
Okay.
Branches have smaller budgets, but we might get a new one. We might get a new book. But what we try to do is we try to say, is this book looking grubby? That's a term. Is this book looking grubby? If it's grubby, we'll buy a new one. Oh, it has a new cover. Okay, let's get it. But if it's not and the hardback still looks good, that book will sit right there. Let's go buy a new one.
I was interested in what you were saying a minute ago about like respecting kids' intellectual freedoms and everything. And like, I remember like as a little kid myself, like going into the YA section and like reading about all kinds of stuff, and like that's just like opens your mind so much. But how do you balance like content versus kids' reading levels versus what parents might think? Like, does that ever get tricky? And like, what's your approach to that?
So a children's library card is their card. If they give it to their parent to be like, Mom, can you hold my card for me? That is their respect. But if that kid is mature, take care of the books, and this is what they want, and they want to take these books out, and their mom lets them, I respect that. Now, if they don't, that's out of my hands. But if that's a conversation the parent wants to have with me, I really can't say no to having that conversation with the parent. But like my own mom, my mom said, you're at this level where you're learning and you want to learn and you want to understand these books. So you're getting these books out and dictionaries and thesauruses. So if this is something that you want to do, I'm all for it, but try and find stuff that's on a level that you can understand it. So my philosophy is it's respecting not just the intellectual properties of that child and parent, but also respecting the boundaries of what they can and can't do. And how do you do that? You do that by asking simple questions, like an investigation. So like if you've done reference 5 ways, 5 times, you already know what are some of the questions you can ask a child. Hey, have you heard of such and such? What grade are you in? What reading level are you on? Or something along those lines. So basically it's trying to understand their literacy their comfortable literacy level. And then once you understand that, you already know what kind of books that you can let them take out, because then you can move between easy reader and even some series. Like I have some series that are really easy to go through. Like I think the Pixie series, the Magic Fairy series. I know Anna and Elsa has a series, the Disney series. The Descendants has a series that I go to all the time. So these are series that I'm like, hey, let me introduce you to something a little bit higher that you can enjoy. So I'll give you this and I'll give you this, and then you come back and tell me what you think. And so you're investigating basically these properties and ideas, but once you do it and keep doing it, you get a feel for a person's likes and dislikes in the future. So you'll be able to determine how to do something, what questions to ask, what level to ask, and you're like, okay, I'll file this away for future reference.
And in terms of content, like, do you ever get angry parents? Is that something you have to deal with? Or
oh yeah, you get angry
like
parents.
How do you handle
that? Basically, welcome to the Free Library of Philadelphia. My name is Today. I'm here to help. You didn't like the book your child picked out. You didn't like the book that they read. That is quite understandable. I'm very sorry you're upset. I apologize if that book wasn't up to your standards. We'll find a new book. And that's what we do. We will find something new. I apologize that book was hurting or disastrous to your child, but we will find something that is helpful. And I'll get, no, I don't want your help and blah, 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 blah. That's fine too. But I'm here to assist you. And mistakes happen. So our job is to always keep it professional, ladies and gents. That's what we do. We keep it professional. Our job is to try and be the best we can and do the best we can, because there's nothing else we can do.
That's really, yeah, it's really great to, I don't know, I loved hearing your like professional voice, like, because I know I've put like, even when I was in my undergrad, I like worked at like just the student library, but just like that feeling of like your professional like circulation desk voice of like,
oh yes, I even have a call center phone voice where I'm like, thank you for calling the Free Library of Philadelphia. This is Today speaking. How can I take your call?
yeah.
It's basically customer service all the way. It's how we do it, when we do it, and we keep it professional. We have rules that govern everything, and you can only do what you can. That's basically it. You can only do what you can. And if you try something out and you didn't like it, or you tried something and you made a mistake with it, keep trying and trying and trying until you get it. That's the important part. You are the future. You are the future of librarianship. So, you know, having this in your hands and you asking me questions, I am blessed to be able to pass on whatever I've learned. Even as a librarian assistant, I've learned so much, not just about shelving, shifting, you know, just helping people find books, or even just weeding a collection. I've learned so much, and I don't mind imparting that to you guys.
Well, we really appreciate you coming and talking to us today. I know we're coming up on the hour, so I'll wrap it up so we can let everyone go. But
okay,
really thank you again for coming and talking to us. If possible, if you'd be comfortable doing it, would you mind sharing your email in the chat maybe, so that everyone here can reach out if they have any questions?
Of course.
And like, as you saw in the beginning, we recorded this session, so we can upload it to our YouTube channel, so we can share this with the student body as well. Because I know these times, like, you know, people work, people are doing school, they have families, so they can't always make it, but we get a lot of people who come and watch the videos later on, and it's
I
really
feel honored to be here.
And yeah, thank you.
I feel really honored, because I'm just like, I feel like I consider myself a baby librarian, because like this is just my first year, but I feel like I've been with the Free Library since forever.
Yeah.
And when you've been everything and you've learned everything, just passing that on and sharing it, I feel like I'm just bringing it full circle, like my supervisor did for me. And, you know, like I said, I'm a bundle of information. Please don't hesitate to reach out, ask questions. I am here for you guys. I am here to help you, you know, share information, break down barriers, help you succeed where, you know, others fail. And if you make mistakes, that's okay. We're in it together. Because now more than ever, our community needs librarians.
Yeah.
There is a huge need. And it's because we have digital divide. That's because we have, you know, information that is lacking. People don't have access to computers. They don't have access to books, DVDs, any of that. So it's up to us to be able to be the connectors to resources, to be informative, to be connectors. And you're welcome, James. Do you have any questions for me?
Hello. No, not that I can think of now, but I mean, you fielded all those questions in such a great way. So I got a lot from that, but yeah, thank you for asking.
Not a problem. Like I said, I'm here for everyone. Like I said, librarianship has been everything for me. Waking up every day, going into the, seeing my collection and see how the shelves look, and just knowing that I'm making a difference for the community.
Well, we really appreciate your time and hearing about how you're helping to build this community. So thank you for joining. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and looking forward